Okay, so get ready because today we're diving into the life of one of the most unsettling figures of the 20th century.
Adolf Eichmann. We're going beyond a simple biography.
We're using your stack of sources, encyclopedia entries, Wikipedia, even some YouTube documentaries
Right.
to understand Eichmann's role in the Holocaust and, most importantly, to grapple with the very concept of
The banality of
the
evil.
banality of
Yeah.
evil.
Because we often picture
Right.
architects of genocide as monsters,
Right.
driven by, obvious hatred.
Yeah.
But what makes Eichmann so fascinating and so disturbing is that he didn't fit that mold at all.
He really didn't. Yeah, he wasn't some raving lunatic.
Right.
In fact, his early life in Germany was strikingly ordinary. Nothing about his upbringing screamed, future orchestrator of mass murder. So how did this seemingly average guy become so entangled with the Nazi regime?
Well, it's important to remember the historical context here. Germany in the 1930s was a breeding ground for extremism. The sting of losing World War I, coupled with a devastating economic depression, fueled, a wave of resentment and instability.
And that's where groups like the Nazi Party thrived, right?
Makes sense.
They swooped in with promises of national revival, preying on people's fears and anxieties.
Exactly. And a key part of their ideology, and this is crucial to understanding Eichmann's path, was this concept of Lebensraum, literally living space.
Living space.
They believed that Germany, a supposedly superior Aryan race, was destined to expand its territory across Eastern Europe. And that, of course, meant displacing and ultimately eliminating the people already living there, particularly the Jews.
So when Eichmann joined the Nazi Party, it wasn't just about blind faith.
Yeah.
It was buying into this terrifying ideology. He found his place within the ranks, rising quickly, especially within the SS.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that gets me. He wasn't out there giving fiery speeches or crafting hateful propaganda. He wasn't
The R1.
He wasn't the IO one.
No. Eichmann wasn't the ideologue. He was the organizer.
Okay.
He was exceptionally skilled at taking the Nazi Party's hateful vision and translating it into cold, hard logistics.
He was a logistics guy. He excelled at coordinating complex operations, and that's what made him so dangerous.
Precisely. He approached everything with this disturbing efficiency.
Yeah.
Take his early involvement in the persecution of Jews in Austria, for example. He oversaw deportations, asset seizures, stripping people of their homes, their livelihoods, their very identities, all with a chilling meticulousness.
And this was just the beginning. His obsession with order and efficiency would soon make him a central figure in one of the darkest chapters in human history, the Wannsee Conference. You might be surprised to learn that the Wannsee Conference wasn't some, hate-filled rally. It was a meeting.
Right. A gathering of high-ranking Nazi officials
There with one purpose.
to coordinate the final solution.
That's what they called it, a chilling euphemism for the systematic extermination of European Jews. Yeah.
And who was the one making sure this horrific plan ran like a well-oiled machine?
Eichmann.
Eichmann. He organized the entire conference, meticulously documented the proceedings, making sure everyone was on the same page about how this final solution would be carried out.
What's truly bone-chilling about the Wannsee Conference is this, bureaucratic nature. They were educated professionals just calmly discussing the logistics of genocide.
And the language they used?
Evacuation, special treatment. These euphemisms masked the horrific reality of their plans.
It's like they were discussing a construction project or something.
And that's precisely what made Eichmann so effective and so terrifying. Yeah. He saw the machinery of government as a tool.
Right.
A tool to achieve the regime's goals. No matter how monstrous those goals were, he was obsessed with efficiency, with streamlining the process.
So from there, his focus shifts from the seizure of property to the transportation of millions to their deaths. He coordinated train schedules, created quotas for each region under Nazi control, constantly looking for ways to optimize the horrifying machinery he had helped set in motion.
And through it all, did he ever question what he was doing?
Wow.
Did he ever stop and think about the human cost of his obsession with efficiency?
That's where things get really complicated. See, according to trial accounts and Hannah Arendt's analysis, she covered his trial in Jerusalem.
Okay.
And her observations really shook things up. Eichmann wasn't driven by sadistic hatred.
He wasn't some evil mastermind stroking a cat and laughing maniacally.
No, he was, by all accounts, a meticulous bureaucrat, a man obsessed with details and order.
Okay, but how does that explain his role in the Holocaust?
That's where Arendt's concept of the banality of evil comes in.
Okay.
She argued that Eichmann wasn't driven by personal hatred of Jews, but by this chilling combination of ambition, conformity, and an inability to think critically about his actions. He saw himself as a cog in a much larger machine, simply carrying out orders, believing his actions were justified by the goals of the Nazi regime.
Just following orders. It's a phrase we hear often, but in this context, it's chilling.
And that's precisely what Arendt wanted to highlight. She forced people to confront this deeply unsettling idea that great evil doesn't always announce itself with a monstrous face. It can lurk in the everyday actions of seemingly ordinary people who fail to question the system they're a part of, who prioritize obedience and efficiency over compassion and conscience.
And the thing is, even after the war, after the horrors of the Holocaust were fully revealed to the world, Eichmann didn't just disappear quietly. He escaped.
Yeah, he managed to make his way to Argentina, where he lived for years under an assumed name.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
This man responsible for orchestrating the deaths of millions blending into everyday life.
It's really incredible. He even went so far as telling his son that he was a historical figure, not a war criminal.
Talk about a chilling distortion of reality.
Yeah, but his attempt to outrun his past, it couldn't last forever.
Right.
In 1960, Israeli agents captured Eichmann in Argentina and brought him to Jerusalem to stand trial.
This wasn't just another trial.
Right.
This was one of the first globally televised trials, broadcast into homes around the world.
Right.
Millions watched transfixed as the horrors of the Holocaust were laid bare for all to see.
And for many, it was the first time they had heard those horrors recounted firsthand. Survivor testimonies shared in court had a profound impact, giving voice to the millions who had been silenced by the Nazis.
And there at the center of it all was Eichmann sitting in a bulletproof glass booth, the weight of his crimes on full display for the world to judge. What was his defense? Did he express any remorse, any acknowledgement of the magnitude of his actions?
Eichmann's defense was largely based on the same chilling refrain we've discussed: obedience.
Just following orders?
He claimed he was simply following orders. A cog in a machine, not the driving force behind the extermination.
But did he ever address the human cost of his actions?
There's a particularly chilling quote from the trial that reveals just how detached Eichmann remained. He said, and I'm paraphrasing here, that he would leap into his grave laughing because the feeling that he had 5 million human beings on his conscience was for him a source of extraordinary satisfaction.
That's beyond chilling. It's horrifying.
It is, and it underscores the danger of blind obedience, of abdicating personal responsibility in the face of authority. Eichmann's trial forced a global reckoning with those questions,
Yeah.
a reckoning that continues to this day.
So what's his legacy? How should we remember Adolf Eichmann?
Well, Eichmann was found guilty on all charges: war crimes, crimes against humanity, crimes against the Jewish people.
Of course.
And he was hanged in 1962. But his trial, his life, his crimes, they continue to spark debate and soul-searching.
Because it's not enough to just label him a monster and be done with it.
Yeah, exactly. Was he a uniquely evil monster? Or does his story reveal a darker truth about human nature, that under the right, or rather wrong circumstances, any one of us is capable of unthinkable acts? That's the unsettling question Eichmann's story forces us to confront, each and every one of us.
It's a question with no easy answers. And that wraps up our deep dive into the life and crimes of Adolf Eichmann. This deep dive may be over, but the questions raised by Adolf Eichmann's life and crimes, those questions linger long after the final gavel falls.